Oh my, listen to these 5-star reviews. I can't believe I got my order so fast. Easiest exchange ever. Loyal customer for life. In the last 2 months, our reviews are better than ever.
That's because we leveled up our fulfillment process by switching to ShipStation. They're way more comprehensive than other solutions, and we save up to 90% off all major carriers.
Ugh, best upgrade ever.
Upgrade to ShipStation today to get a 60-day free trial at ShipStation.com, code AUDIO.
Ah, motherhood. 1 minute, you're mom of the year.
I love you, Mommy.
Then the next, not so much. From bath time to bullying, from potty training to puberty, parenting is full of challenges. But one thing is for certain, you are not alone. Welcome to Modern Mom Probs. I'm your host, author, mother, parenting expert, Tara Clark. Join me while we tackle today's modern mom problems. Welcome back to another episode of Modern Mom Probs. I'm your girl, Tara. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. You know, here on Modern Mom Probs, we're trying to solve the world's modern mom problems. And if we can't do that, well, at least we're having fun talking about them. And today's problem is technology and tweens. I am joined by Juliette Blake. She is the founder and CEO of Moxies, which is a safe and healthy gamified social platform designed specifically for tween girls. Juliette is an entrepreneur who has been creating incredible companies for the last 15 to 20 years. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Juliette, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
I'm excited to be chatting. We're going to be talking about technology and social media and all of that. But to kick it off, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I have been a founder for over half my life. I used to say I have been building brands and media properties for girls for over 15 years. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, it's been 20. I have always had a real entrepreneurial spirit. Even as a young kid, it just came out in lots of different ways. And I am now the founder of Moxies and just really excited to be here talking with you. I also have 3 kids. I have 2 girls and a boy, 4, 5, and 6. And really everything that I do, I put on my parenting lens. And my whole goal is how can I continue to build a better future for my kids and their peers and their generation. So I'm super excited to be here and chatting with you.
I love that. So I want to talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial history. You said you've always sort of had that spark. What do you think, where do you think that came from? Or what are some of your other past projects too?
Yeah, it's funny. So I learned about this story maybe 5 years ago. My mom was just rehashing and telling me this and I was like, what? I don't even remember that. But I think it fully depicts me as I think it just fully depicts who I am in such a great way. So when I was in elementary school, both my parents worked full-time jobs, so I did an after-school program at school. And it's called the Dolphin Club. And I was also a Girl Scout. And of course, everyone knows Girl Scouts, selling cookies. Yep. You want to sell the most cookies. You want to be the winner of your troop, all of those things. And one day my mom came to pick me up at the Dolphin Club, and the owner of the Dolphin Club, or the woman who was running it, came up to her and she's like, I'm so sorry. I tried to get all the money, but I don't know, if I got all of it. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, Juliette was walking around with an envelope of cash, giving it out to everyone saying, this is for your college education. And so essentially what I had done, it was all of the money that I had, worked really hard to get to be the top of the Girl Scout troop, to be the highest cookie seller. But then I was giving it away for someone else's future. And I feel that just describes me as such a T in terms of, what really drives me at the end of the day. Clearly, as a 3rd grader, that's also what was driving me without even realizing. But, oh my gosh, I did everything from, of course, lemonade stands and babysitters clubs. And when people, one of my friends had her own landline, her own phone number. So that became our babysitter hotline that nobody ever called. We put on dance performances.
We did that too in school.
Right?
We were the babysitter club and then we had meetings.
Yeah. We thought we were going to be able to get the Spice Girls to come to a performance. We told everyone they were coming. Obviously, they were not. Lots of fun things like that. So it's always just clearly been in my nature to be entrepreneurial.
I love that. You're like such a hustler. I love that. Yeah. I think many times, like, I feel like people have it or they don't. Does that make sense? Like my son recently, this was actually like last year, maybe two years ago, he was selling snacks at school. So I would pack snacks and then he was selling them to his friends for like a very high amount of money. And then they had to the teachers had to shut it down because you can't be charging these kids $20 for a pack of Skittles. Like that just
Totally. But yeah, there's just some people who I agree. I think you're kind of born with this entrepreneurial spirit. And I think you either have it or you don't. And yeah, I totally agree.
Do you think that your parents foster that in you, or do you think that it was the independence that you had because they were working that then sort of led you into that path?
I think it was a combination. My dad is very entrepreneurial and very creative and has always just been a very different type of thinker. I also do think it was, I grew up with two working parents, seeing them work really hard, and especially with a full-time working mom, pre-Zoom, pre-work from home, all of those things where she was commuting into New York City every day. And so, I think those role models for me, just in terms of work ethic, were just kind of always who were just part of my growing up. And I do think I did have a lot of independence. There was a lot of time for creative play. And what does that mean? And what does that look like? It's actually funny. And I know we're going to talk a lot about technology, but my older daughter, she's like, Mommy, when did you first get a cell phone? And she's been asking me, she knows she's not getting a phone. She's like, what about when I'm 10? I'm like, just let's talk about this later. You're 6.
Plenty of time.
Yeah. But I was like, well, actually, I got one really young because both of my parents, I was because Mimi and Yopa, were working and I would walk to and from school. And so I had the big flip, brick, phone, just so they could get in touch with me or in case of an emergency. But there was a lot of independence, and I had it because I had a lot of this independence as a kid in the neighborhood that we grew up in. I could walk to school. I could walk home. We walked into town all the time. We walked to friends' houses all the time. So it's an interesting question when I start to think about it more, because I do think it's a combination of, what my surroundings for sure.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. My parents were divorced and I lived with my mom. And so she worked all the time. So I was also super, super independent, that I would walk home from the bus stop, and my bus stop was super far from my house. It's hard for me to even think. I was probably at least a half mile, if not a mile from my house.
Far.
So I walked a lot from a very young age, and that was way pre cell phones, because we didn't really have cell phones until late high school, early college. So, But anyway, I'm derailing myself, but with technology, I understand that I want to talk about the creativity that can come both offline and online. You sort of alluded to it, Juliette. Do you think that with the technology as it stands now, are kids getting the opportunity to be as creative as they could be if they were offline?
Such an interesting question. I think there's a lot of research that I have seen that talks about how we can really use technology in a way to foster creativity, and what types of exploration that can be beyond just kind of what we're so used to from an in real life physical only perspective. I also think there is beauty of being bored and not having something to do, and not having that technology to distract you or entertain you or guide you. And so, I see it both ways, and I think it all comes down to balance. Balance means and looks different for every single family, for every single kid. But I've seen some really cool examples of, how technology can really foster cool creative ideas. So, for example, She's become a good friend of mine, but she runs the Center for Digital Thriving out of Harvard. So they are a research center. Her name's Dr. Emily Weinstein. They basically study technology in kids and like good, bad, everything in between, just really trying to understand the different ways that technology can impact kids. Youth is what they say, not just kids. Youth is a better word. I've been like moving over to the word youth. I'm like, I like that word much better.
I like that. I'm gonna steal that, put that in one of my pockets.
Youth, yes. Yeah. But, one of the things that they're always, doing is kind of thinking about, AI, right? Like there's, that's a whole big conversation.
Yes.
But, there's a lot of really cool stuff that can be done when you are co-playing using AI with your kids. So whether it is bringing a story to life or bringing something from their imagination and being able to have them like be part of visualizing and creating beyond what like their 5-year-old skill set with their hands might be at that moment, of course, still have them draw and create it. But, I think there's a lot of really cool ways that technology can be used to foster creativity. And at the end of the day, it is part of our lives, and enabling kids to understand how to use it to their benefit, to either fine-tune skills or to learn or create or creative self-expression, whatever it looks like, is something that I think is really important to be kind of building into their different types of literacy skills.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. My son, for a while, loved this book series called Warrior Cats. Okay. And it's like a universe where cats have tribes and, they're going on adventures and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. It's sort of for like older students. Yeah. It's for youth. No, it's for older students and for teenagers.
All youth.
It's youth. It's a youth book. I guess I would call it young adult. Anyway, because there are some like heavier themes within it. He had recently started writing fan fiction for it, where he would sort of like take the stories or take the universe, I should say, and extend it and write his own original stories, which I thought was like super cool. And then he started using AI to play around with, like, you could create characters in AI and sort of like talk to them and go back and forth. And so he was doing that within this Warrior Cats universe. And I thought that was super clever because it was an extension of his own creativity, but he was employing technology with that. So that was definitely a positive in terms of working with AI and helping his writing skills, his literacy, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was pleased to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, no, it was very cool. So obviously AI is like a whole separate conversation. We've talked about that like literally all day, but I want to talk about Moxies, and I want to talk about what you guys are working on over there.
Yeah. So, I have been, as I said, in the space for tweens for over 20 years, not 15. And one of the things that became really clear to me with the first company that I started was the positive impact that we can have when we actually build with real thought and intention. So in the previous company, one of the things that we did was we created this TV series called Hyperlinked. We partnered with YouTube Originals and Disney on it. It focused on entrepreneurship and positive female friendships and girls working together. And then also had this focus on STEM and computer science. And we were really thoughtful and intentional with how we went to create this series. So we had this board of advisors where we were working with Kimberly Bryant, who at the time was the CEO of Black Girls Code, Gina Davis and Madeline Donono from the Gina Davis Institute on Gender and Media. We worked with Rosalind Weissman, who wrote the book Queen Bees and Wannabes that was turned into Mean Girls. So there was a lot of real thought and intention that went into the collaboration of creating the content for the series. And what like kind of came out of that was there was this external study done that showed that girls who watched just the first episode of that series, so that was only 22 minutes of content, were 11% more likely to pursue a career in computer science than girls who didn't.
I love that.
And again, there was so much thought and intention that went behind it, but it really goes to show you if we can build with with well-being at the center of how we are thinking about building for youth, what types of positive outcomes we can have, because we see so much of the negative when it comes to social and gaming and media and how it disproportionately negatively affects girls. There's so many reasons why that's the case. And so with building Moxies, what we're really trying to do is reimagine like what digital looks like for tweens. We're starting with tween girls again because of how they are playing, how they are connecting, what they are wanting to do, and the research that shows again these disproportionately negative effects on them. But what we're doing is we are, putting well-being at the center of everything that we're doing. It's not an afterthought. It goes into the design of the platform. It goes into the content. It goes into the messaging. It goes into the education. It literally goes into every single aspect of how we're building Moxies. And so really what we've built, is this like research-backed, first of its kind tool that's really designed to support girls in their digital experience. And so it's a platform where they can play and they can create and they can connect and all the fun things that we know that they are asking for and wanting to do online, but in this environment that is avoiding that toxic and harmful content, those dark pattern, persuasive, addictive design features that we see so much in all these other platforms. And so, what we're focusing on is building confidence, digital literacy, this healthy relationship with technology from the start. And so actually building a strong foundation for them to set them up for success, making this a fun platform for them, but then offering also parents peace of mind in terms of, their daughter's digital experience.
Yeah, I love that. I think that it's so important to lead with intentionality is absolutely key. What are, just to backtrack a little bit, what are some of based upon your research, what are some of the negative things that the teens or tweens, I should say, the youth were seeing that was impacting them negatively?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with how these platforms are, the big tech platforms are designed, right? So they were designed to be harmful and dangerous and addictive. That's how they monetize. They're monetizing off of our attention. And how do you get attention? You lean into some of these more negative things because that is what is going to keep people coming back. So when I talk about dark patterned persuasive design features, there's it's a very specific type of design. So the like button, for example, that is a dark pattern persuasive design feature, right? Basically tracking your self-worth over how many likes you have or not, or who's liking and who's not. So that's one feature that Moxies doesn't have. Also, when we're talking about the addictiveness, right? What is it that is keeping people, youth, whatever, again, when we're looking at the current platforms that we all engage on a daily basis, what is keeping you coming back? And so that's what loops you into a lot of the addictive cycles, especially when people are designing things for kids, or for kids. There's a lot of rewards, and there's gamification is something that is so second nature to kids. They just know it in every way, shape, and form. And gamification can be incredibly powerful and beneficial, but then it becomes it can become abused, right? In terms of the ways that kids are constantly needing to go back. Another is constant notifications, right? So the need to, we've over these last couple of years of researching Moxies, we've talked with hundreds of girls and parents, and a big pain point for so many of them is group chat. So the functionality of a group chat. And no, I don't want my kid to be on that platform, in that group chat, in whatever way that her and her peers might be connecting, but I also don't want her to miss out on these key social moments, right? So this is something we hear over and over and over again. And when we, talk to parents and then also look at the research, so much of the group chat functionality has to do with the fact that you always have to be available. You always have to be on. You are constantly being bombarded, whether you want to or not, being removed from group chats, or added to, or new ones starting without you. But what we would hear over and over from parents is this, true friction point of, okay, I've set this limit for my child, right? Like I have given them, let's say 30 minutes, like, before 8 p.m. to talk to their friends. 8 p.m. rolls around and it is like an explosion of emotions because I am saying, let's take the device away. It's time to wind down for bedtime, like all of these things, but their friends are still loud on it. So those conversations are still going. And it's this deep sense of FOMO for that child of not being able to be part of that conversation, and then waking up the next morning to 200 messages that they missed that they weren't a part of. And so that is also one of those, dark patterned, design features that is keeping you wanting to come back. And so with Moxies, our group chat shuts off at 8 p.m. for everybody, and it doesn't turn back on until 7:30 the next day. So like starting to build healthy habits early on is something that's really important when it comes to this digital well-being and digital literacy, because a lot of these kids, like, they don't have the tools. They don't know any different. And parents are really trying to figure it out, but it is not easy to navigate. And even when you're setting in the restrictions and you're doing this and you're doing that, it's still hitting something for that child if they can or cannot do something. And so that's how we've taken this like true, like well-being, safe by design, like centric approach in everything that we've built with Moxies, and making like our goal is like to make this the new norm that I'll talk to some moms like, oh, can you make it so my chat shuts off at 8? And like,
I know, I was going to say that. I thought that too, because like this is helpful obviously for parents of girls who would be on the platform, but it's actually really helpful for like all parents because it's making us more hyper aware of our media consumption, thinking about the chats, thinking about putting the phone down at night, all of those types of things, thinking about the features on these platforms that we don't necessarily think through. We just take them for granted, like the like button. Like, yeah, I hate that. I absolutely hate that. I hate that people feel the need to tie their self-worth to metrics on a piece of content. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy that the system's set up like that. It's crazy to me that it's still like that. It's one thing if they would have started that like years ago and you went, oh, you know what, that's what it was. Just like how they used to have like a poke button on Facebook, right? Like,
I forgot about the poke button.
Like they get rid of features, but there's some things that they don't get rid of and then they keep, and you sort of wonder, well, why?
Right. And the answer is because that's how they monetize, right? And so, what has been for me kind of the biggest thing that we're really trying to showcase with Moxies is how well-being and safety can also be monetizable. So like we're not building off of, the attention economy. Like that's not how we're building our business model. Like it will be right now. So we just launched a couple months ago. Like once we kind of continue to roll out new features for both girls and parents, we'll switch over to a freemium tiered subscription model. And like really, again, we're prioritizing safety and well-being, and that becomes like the core part of our platform. And like, again, I'm a parent. You're a parent. Like, from these conversations that you're having with other parents, like, we want to keep our kids safe, like, in every way, right? Whether it's in the real world, online, the two are very blended and they affect each other in all the different types of ways. The reality is our kids' lives are more digital, whether people like that or not. It's just the reality that we live in. And so how can we keep them safe and how can we set them up for success? And every kid deserves to have a safe internet experience. And I look at Moxies as really showcasing how we can do that. And how this isn't, how this can be beyond just for girls, right? How this can be for youth in general. How this is how tech companies should be building for youth, with this true safety and well-being at the core, because things are really changing in terms of, within the last year, there's been so much research that's come out. Parents are more aware and informed, but at the same time, they're still like, I don't really know what to do, or I don't, and again, these platforms are designed to be intentionally so confusing to figure out what to do and how to keep your kids safe on them. And so if we can continue to offer an experience that is fun and like fun for girls, but also is working on building, confidence, digital literacy, leadership skills, like social emotional development, all these different things that are fully built into the programming of our platform, while giving parents that peace of mind that their kid is safe to explore, and connect with their friends only, in this environment. Like, we have to start to give kids, it helps to give them autonomy, but with safeguards. And right now that doesn't exist because these platforms were not designed for kids. The platforms that kids are on currently, not Moxies, but the platforms that kids are on, the big ones that they're on, were not designed for kids. And like, we're seeing that now, finally come out with Roblox, and you will see senior leadership at Roblox saying Roblox is not for kids. However, 60% of the user base is under 16. So
exactly.
And it's those things that are really hard for parents because they're like, wait, what? This is like a video game virtual world. Like, why would this not be for kids? And so this is where it just is really, really challenging and tricky. And that's, what we are trying to solve differently for.
Yeah, no, I think it's so important. The wild thing about Roblox is that, yes, for the average parent, and I'm not saying us because we're so involved in this world and digital safety, but for the average parent, they don't think much. I know, I look at my peers, I look at my friends' sons' parents, and they don't know anything about the dangers of Roblox.
Yeah. And
they don't think anything about letting their kids, play on it for several hours a day. And I'm always like, you got to watch out. Or Discord. I absolutely do not let my son on Discord. And meanwhile, he has friends who are making friends in other countries and talking to random people and all kinds of stuff.
It's so interesting because I think the talking to random people and the stranger part is, it's one of those things that, like, as a parent, right, you don't want your kid talking to random strangers. And like me, like, you don't want them to do that, right? You don't want them to talk to random strangers in real life. You don't want them to random strangers online, whatever. Yeah. But what's been really interesting, and this is something that, it doesn't surprise me at all anymore, just because I have been working with this, like, Tween demo for so long, and they're just constantly, like, they're just always impressing me in, like, the best ways possible. And this past summer, we ran a digital leadership workshop. So this is something that, like, we'll do, like, it's like a lot of one-off. So we'll do it with, like, Girl Scout troops and community events, and we teach this, like, digital leadership workshop. And girls always really love it. Parents always really love it. It, like, leads into Moxies. They always, like, come up with their own app ideas, which always end up being Moxies before we even tell them what Moxies is. It's always really cool.
But we did that.
It's really cool. But we did one this summer where we did a 5-week program. So it was, like, once a week for an hour for 5 weeks. And one of the things that really came out of it, and this was with a group of 8 and 9-year-olds in New York City. And one of the things that really came out of it was how aware they are of the experiences that they are having on platforms and how it makes them feel in, like, a good way or a bad way. And the biggest thing that, like, that kept coming up multiple times is the unwanted messages from people, random strangers and random people, and what they have to do when it comes in, and how they have to block this and how they have to do that. And when we eventually, like, brought them onto Moxies and brought them into this, like, group where it's literally just it was just the girls in that group that we were working with. You can't find or search other people or add other people. They literally, like, wait, no, I'm not going to get weird messages from people. And I was like, no, you're not going to get weird messages from people. I'm like, oh my gosh, they, like, couldn't believe that they were in an environment where they weren't getting weird messages from people. And when you actually look at the research, 60% of 8 to 12-year-olds get unwanted messages from strangers on gaming and social platforms. 60%. And that's even when parents think that they have all the parental controls, like, on lock. But it was just really interesting hearing from these 8 and 9-year-old girls the importance of safety for them too, not just from the parent side.
Yeah, there so many thoughts are going through my head right now, because I actually think that 60% almost seems low for the amount of kids receiving messages from rando strangers, because I guess it also depends on which platforms that they're on. But I know my son has, he is on Roblox, doesn't play it as much anymore. He's more into Minecraft lately, which is better because I prefer that, because they're in private servers there. But he tells me that people reach out and try to, he says, and he'll even use this word, groomed. He said, no one's ever tried to groom me, Mom, but I do know people who have been. And I'm like, what?
Well, it's interesting though. The 60% is 8 to 12-year-olds, right? Like, in which, so like, if you go, 8 to 16, I'm sure
that's probably like
that
85%.
Number, that number jacks up. But like, because, again, when you think about the access that 8 and 12-year-olds have in relation to, 13 plus, it's usually a little less. But I mean, I mean, the fact that like your son's using like, I haven't tried to, no one's tried to groom me yet. You're like,
No, I mean, that's his like literal quote. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening in this world? And I am so like on top of all of his stuff.
Totally.
And it's just wild that these kids are aware. I mean, I'm glad that they're aware and we have these types of conversations, but I do know friends of his who have had strangers reach out to them. So for Moxies, I have a couple questions. One, what type of content are the girls consuming and creating? And then two, what age group are we talking about there?
So our age group is 8 to 12. So we're really finding kind of like the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade as sort of like that sweet spot of our users. Our average user, we actually just pulled this yesterday, is 10.
That makes sense.
So it's really like solidly in the middle of our 8 to 12-year-old range. We have, girls as young as 5 on there, and we probably have like some 16-year-olds on there, but it's really that 8 to 12-year-old range in terms of what they're looking for. So in terms of the content, there are kind of like two pieces to like what they can create and then like what they can also consume. So, and they work in tandem. So there's 3 core features, which is the, safe private group chats that are fully moderated. I can talk about the moderation piece too. The Moxies, which are the avatars, and then the quests. And so from a creation perspective, right now, girls are creating different Moxies. So they're essentially, like different avatars. They can create up to 4 different Moxies right now. They can edit them as many times as they want. All really like representative and diverse traits, like within the base traits that girls can pick from. And then the rest of the traits they earn. And those are earned right now through the quests. And so right now the quests are polls and quizzes, and they hit 5 categories, which are digital literacy, confidence, self-esteem, social emotional development, skill building, and then just for fun. Even the just for fun though will always have some type of educational layer. So like, for example, if we're doing something skincare related, right? Like we know there's skincare, they don't need 12 steps, right? They don't need 12 steps, but they love skincare and they love beauty. So how can we actually like educate them around what they could be doing? And how can we also reframe it when it comes to more of like a mindfulness, like self-love moment, self-care moment, as opposed to what, someone might be seeing on TikTok. And so that's kind of how we even like reframe a lot of the like just for fun stuff. But and every time a user completes a quest, they earn new items for their Moxie. So they can go back in, they can edit, change. And the Moxies are a really great way for creative self-expression. So it can be either, something, they create Moxies that look like them, or they create Moxies that are aspirational, or this mood that they have, or this vibe that they want. And it's also a really great way for them to express themselves and share without uploading videos and photos of themselves. And so like, we're also protecting like their actual safety and identity within even their small social circles, because instead they're using the Moxies as a way to express themselves. And then the other thing too that's been really interesting, and I'm so excited about this fact, is that in the quests, so we've also been able to see like which are the more popular quests, like where girls are kind of, like which ones they're playing more of, and which ones they're gravitating towards. And, like in like a very superficial way, like, oh, beauty, oh, skincare, oh, they want that Lululemon gift card, like, whatever it might be. Yeah. Our most popular quest still to this date is Money Smarts. And what we are finding is girls are asking for more skill building, educational, actually learning type of quests. And so we are, really taking all of that with what we're learning from the girls that are on our platform. And incorporating that into, how we continue to create content around it. But it's really cool because they are the feedback that we can consistently get from both what we're seeing, digitally that they're talking about, as well as the in-person sessions that we've done, is they want to learn and they want to use back to like the first question that you said, like, how can we use technology to like unlock and unleash creativity? They want it for that. They want to learn how to do that activity or that craft or to build that business or to make that different. Like, it's really, really cool to see. So we're taking that and building more of that into Moxies.
That's awesome. Just run with it. Absolutely run with it. I love that. I was actually, this sounds random, but I'll still tell the story anyway. Yeah. I was writing a check for a bill yesterday. Yeah. And I was like, I had to stop and think, and I was like, all right, I put the stamp on this side and I put the return label on this side and I write the thing there. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, here I am, like a 40-year-old woman doing that. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, I bet my son doesn't know that. I feel like that's like, I know that is a skill that my own mother taught me, back in the day. I have never sat with my son and said, like, this is how you write a letter or send something like that. Yeah. And I feel like those types of skills. Now, I know that's like such a silly example, but even like, writing a check, how to send a letter, all of those things, like what is the format of that kind of stuff? Like, it is important for kids to learn. So you can add that one to a quest. Totally.
Like basic life skills, like literally basic life things. It's funny. I have a friend who created this app called Real World. It's for older. It's for like Gen Z. I'd say it's probably like 18 plus at least, if not like 22 plus, like out of college kind of thing. Yes. But it's basically like to teach them how to do like all of the real world things that like people don't know how to do. And I bet like writing a check and like envelope stamping is for sure on there.
I'm sure it is. I was laughing to myself when I was doing this. I mean, first I was like cursing under my breath because I had to like write this bill. And then I was like,
you're like, oh, and I can't even remember where, am I doing this right?
I was like, right, left, right. I was like, yeah, that looks right. Yeah, that's right. I'm pretty sure that's right. And it was fine.
So
but it's the little things that, as adults, we have to do.
Totally.
But I think it's important. I love the side quests. I love that. And I love the avatars because I know that kids love to dress up their avatars. Like a huge thing on Roblox, even without playing actual games, they love to deck out their avatars, like you said, based upon a mood or a vibe or whatever it is. And then Dress to Impress is a hugely popular game on Roblox. And that's essentially the whole thing, is just dressing avatars and hanging out and stuff like that. So I think that's awesome. I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests. Are you ready, Juliette?
I'm ready.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest modern mom problem right now?
Ooh, I would say, I mean, I could go so many ways with this one. I could lean into the tech, but honestly, I think it kind of has to do with, I think burnout is not necessary. I think it's like a little bit of an overused phrase, but I think about it in the sense of there are so many things that we have to juggle and navigate and figure out. I think it would actually kind of come back though to safety, is how we keep our kids safe. And there's a lot of mental load and strain that comes into that, in terms of how we keep them safe in the real world, how we keep them safe with the foods that they eat, how we keep them safe online, how all of these things connect. And so for me, it all comes back to safety, and trying to keep our kids safe with whatever resources we have and with whatever power we have, when sometimes we feel incredibly powerless over that safety.
Yeah, that's a great answer. That's one that I don't hear often enough, but I think that I should.
Yeah, I mean, I just think about it every day. And I wish I didn't.
I wish we didn't have to, but here we are. Yeah, this is the reality.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to do the best that we can each day.
Totally.
Absolutely. Juliette, tell me where everyone could find more about Moxies and where we could download it. Tell me all the things.
Yes. So you can go over to the App Store, just search Moxies, Moxies. We will be releasing an Android version in the next couple of months as well. But right now it's for iPhone and iPad, more iPad, especially since of the demo that we have. Sure. And I think it looks even better on the iPad too. So if you have an iPad, get it on the iPad. And then you can go over to go to our website, moxies.xyz. We have a ton of resources on there for parents, just really learning about how we're building things differently, how you can get involved. And you can also follow us on Instagram. So just would love to, always love to connect with parents too that are, passionate about technology and their kids and finding what balance looks like and what that means and looking for creative and effective solutions for how everyone can set their kids up for success when it comes to the digital experiences that we have. But yeah, I'd love for anyone to download Moxies. We can set up private group codes for everybody. And we're going to be rolling out a ton of new updates in the next month, and then some much larger ones towards the end of this year and early next year. So I'm really, really excited for those.
That's super exciting. A lot coming down the pike. That is awesome. I love it. Juliette, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Modern Mom Probs. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive in today's problem with me, your host, Tara Clark. Join me next time when I'll be interviewing another great guest and tackling another modern mom problem. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating. As always, you could head over to Modern Mom Probs on Instagram and give me a follow, or check out my book, Modern Mom Probs, A Survival Guide for 21st Century Mothers, available online wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for today. See you next time, folks.